Hey everybody. So I finished my big heavy crochet coat a while back. This one that's the reds and the browns and the tans. But it was much too hot to wear a coat, so I just folded it up and packed it away. Well, today we finally got the weather that's appropriate to wear it, so I have it on today. So I'm going to show you guys the finished project and talk about it for a little bit. So let me go ahead and get up, move my chair out of the way, step back so you can see the finished coat. Okay, so to start with, it's one of those unstructured cardigan coats that are basically a big rectangle with sleeves that kind of just drape in the front. They're longer on the sides. Let me back up, that way I can show you guys. Okay, this is the front. This is the back. Move my hair so you can see the center medallion. So, yeah. Okay. And as you can see, it hangs really low on the sides. It actually hangs almost to my ankles, but I'm 5'10", so that's okay. It's nice and warm. And it's really, really big, so if I want to, I can wrap it and pin it with a shawl pin to make it warm across my chest. I can even pin it up here on my shoulder, and it's got a lot of coverage. I put some scalloped hem around the edge and around the sleeves. Every row in this thing is a different stitch, so it's a sampler coat. So it took a long time to crochet. I'm going to go ahead and pull my chair back up and talk about it some more. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the coat and how I made it. Alright, this was a project and a half. I started this project, I want to say I started it in summer of 2016 and finished it the end of summer this year. So it took about a year off and on. I mean, I didn't work on it every day. I didn't even work on it every week. So I worked on it off and on over the course of a year. I used a pattern as a jumping off point, but I didn't follow a pattern for the whole coat. I started off with a square sampler Afghan, like a lap Afghan pattern. So that's how you see that sunflower kind of medallion in the middle, and then a sampler Afghan, every row you're doing a different stitch. So it's not like you're doing all double crochet, not like you're doing a chevron pattern, not like you're doing a granny pattern. Every row is different, so it's kind of got that hodgepodge, you know, kind of hodgepodge eclectic look to it, and that's what I wanted. I wanted something really funky, you know, just funky and fun and quirky and me, and this is me. This is like this is like a visual, you know, representation of me. So if I couldn't buy something this perfect for me. This is one of the reasons why I learned how to sew and then how to do needle crafting and knit and crochet, so I could have things, so I could have clothes that are 100% me. And I would never find this in a store. So on to talking about how I made it. So I followed the square Afghan pattern in the middle, the kind of sunflower in the middle, and then I followed the pattern every row until I got it as wide as my shoulders, and it was time to put in the slits for the armholes to put in the sleeves later. And once I got to the armholes, all the rest of my rows, I just winged it. I used a lot of the same stitches from the pattern, but then I also just used random other crochet stitches. So I just said, okay, I'm going to do this stitch this row. Okay, I'm going to do this stitch this row. And I just kept doing random stitch patterns around and around and around in a square until it was as long in the back as I wanted it. And then once it was as long as I wanted it, I didn't need to continue the square on the top and bottom side, the top and bottom anymore, but I did need to make it bigger on the right and left side, so I had plenty of fabric to wrap around my body. So I started working just in panels on either side to turn the square into a rectangle. And I did make those two match. I didn't, you know, like let's say on this side of my coat, I did, you know, this pattern, this stitch, this is, I did the same stitches on the same row. So I did one side, and then when I went to do the other side, I would look and see, okay, I did this stitch, now I need to do this stitch, and then I would do that stitch. So you see what I mean? Both sides match. And if that makes any sense. And then I put in the sleeves, and when I did the sleeves, I winged them too. Just put whatever row I thought looked cool wherever. Now, to get the sleeves to taper, to fit my arms, let me see if I can pull this around. Okay, there we go. So let's say I did this pattern, then I did rows of like single and double crochet, and that's where I did my decrease. And then I did this pattern row, and then I did simple crochet where I could do a decrease, and a pattern row and simple crochet where I could do a decrease. And that's how I got it to taper down some. And then at the end, I put just some basic, simple scalloped edging. And I did the same thing with the body of the coat. Put some scalloped edging around the entire thing, just to give it a little bit of, interest and make it look a little bit more finished. So the yarn is, the brand is Drops, and the name of the yarn is Big Delight, and the colorway is Raspberry Cake. And it's an Aran weight yarn, which is a good substantial medium weight yarn. It's a little bit thicker than your basic like Red Heart Super Saver type Afghan yarn, but it's not bulky. It's a right in between. So it's, like I said, it's a substantial medium weight yarn, and it's 100% wool. So it is very, very warm. This is like one of the 3 warmest pieces of clothing I own. It took, I want to say around 20 balls of this yarn to make this monstrosity. But yeah, it took a lot of yarn to make it. So it's heavy. It weighs, I haven't weighed it yet, but it weighs like 4 or 5 pounds. It is definitely a coat. It is not a little light breezy cardigan. Where I live on the Texas Gulf Coast, we don't get a lot of days where it's, you know, appropriate to wear, but today we have one of those days. We do get a few days a year, maybe 10 days a year, where it gets cold and gloomy enough to wear something like this. And I get cold really, really easy. So I wanted something super, super warm. And this is like wrapping up in an Afghan. It's like wearing a wool Afghan on your body. So I really like it. I'm glad I just took the time and the money and the effort into buying all the yarn and putting all the hours into it, because it's totally unique. Nobody is ever going to have anything like this. You know, they can make a sampler coat, but it's not going to be this sampler coat because it's one of a kind. I'm thinking about doing another one in greens and shades of greens and browns, but probably will not get that done before winter's over this time. I have other projects to work on. I think I'll start that one after I move, but I already have the yarn for it, and I'll do a video when I start it, but it's going to be the same exact concept. I'm going to start off with a pattern to get a good center medallion and, you know, center piece, and then I'm going to just wing it here, there on out. So I got a red one. I'm going to make a green one. And also I don't really have a lot of clothes that have red in them. This is kind of like a burgundy maybe, but I don't really have clothes this color. So I saw this yarn and I just fell in love with the colorway. So I wanted to make something totally unique and fun. So that is my coat. And I will be back just to talk about some random stuff with you guys. So I will see you in a minute. Bye.